Hello everyone, welcome to the Calabash Community, Focus, Early Childhood and Special Education. I am Lucia Joseph. In this episode, the largest employer in the south of the island takes the impressive step of supporting all registered preschools with much needed learning supplies. And we meet some of the special children of Dennery and understand the difference the Dennery Child Development Center is making. A program implemented in Jamaica 2 years ago is having a huge imprint here in St. Lucia. Crayons Count is an initiative spearheaded by Do Good Jamaica, National Bakery, the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper, and the Early Childhood Commission, which aims to get items such as books, balls, blocks, paper, puzzles, puppets, Play-Doh, and most importantly, crayons into 2,700 basic schools across the island. It is the hope of these companies that by supplying these schools and educating teachers in the proper classroom use of these items, that the society can prevent further educational gaps in future generations and stamp out social ills. One of the major driving forces behind the program is Gary Butch Hendrickson. He is the chairman of the National Bakery and now owner of Coconut Bay Beach Resort and Spa here in St. Lucia. Mr. Hendrickson has launched a similar program here called Cocoland Cares. Under the Cocoland Cares project, 126 preschools across St. Lucia will benefit from the donation of packages with high-quality learning material. It is one of several initiatives being undertaken by Coconut Bay designed to impact southern communities.
View Fort to Dennery, across to Choiseul and back down. That's our home. Those are our neighbors. We are most especially proud of our relationship with the St. Jude's Hospital, where late last year we solidified a memorandum of understanding that the staff of Coconut Bay would adopt the children's ward and supply them with financial assistance, manpower, and love. We are proud to say that our relationship with Dr. Poyet and the entire St. Jude's Hospital and its wards have been incredibly rewarding for us here at Coconut Bay. To date, the staff and management have raised and donated $20,000 to the children's ward. We have also collaborated with St. Jude's in other ways. The management of the hospital have been receiving hospitality management training from us here at the resort in anticipation of their new home. The efforts of our staff members in the engineering department just last week were well received by the students and teachers at St. Jude's Primary School, whose facility was in severe disrepair from Hurricane Thomas and the weather trough this past Christmas. Members of the Coconut Bay engineering team spent several days at the school replacing windows, building new cabinets, reinforcing walls, and making the school safer and more comfortable for the students. It's important I also mention our partnership with the Flying Fish swim team. These very talented and aspiring national swimmers from the South are provided use of the pool here at Coconut Bay twice a week for their training sessions. This gesture allows for less travel and less hardship on these swimmers, but it also allows the guests of Coconut Bay an opportunity to meet and to get to know the wonderful youth of St. Lucia.
I found out what crayons, what paintbrushes, what all these blocks and these tools, these are not toys, they're tools of learning, could do to help the children develop as they grew. On that basis, National made the commitment to spend about $500,000 a year to help our early childhood teachers in Jamaica, to help them carry out what is a very difficult task. The last 2 years has seen us in Jamaica assemble and deliver to all registered early childhood institutions over 6,000 learning kits, exact in almost every way to the kits that you see here today. This program is an annual event at National, and we will be distributing kits once again come the new school year in September. And Minister, I'm pleased to tell you that at Coconut Bay, we're already preparing for our September distribution. I have been asked time and again, why have we taken early childhood education so seriously? What has driven us to invest this amount of money and effort? If you'll permit me, I'll quote from a speech given by my very good friend, the Honorable Douglas Orain, patron of Child Month in Jamaica, and he did this at last year's media launch. I, at the time, had the honor of sharing the podium at this event when Douglas quoted the work of the Nobel Prize winner, Dr. James Heckman. Dr. Heckman demonstrated that a single dollar invested in early childhood education could result in a return to society of $17 in later years. And I quote from Douglas's speech. Dr. Heckman argues that we can either invest early to close disparities and prevent achievement gaps, or alternatively, we can pay later to remediate disparities when they are harder and more expensive to close. Either way, we will have to pay, and we will have to do so for an extended period of time. But there's a difference in the two approaches. Investing early allows us to shape the future. Investing later chains us to fixing the missed opportunities of the past. Dr. Heckman also argues that early investment is needed to supplement the role of the family. Recent developments in neuroscience have shown that early years are vital to the cognitive development, which in turn is important to subsequent successes and productivity in school, life, and work. He makes the point that investing in programs for pre-kindergarten children will yield dramatic returns for individuals and for the wider society. Early education, says Heckman, offers the most cost-effective path to a whole range of social benefits, not just higher future incomes for participants, but a more productive workforce, greater economic growth, lower crime rates, smaller prison populations, and substantial savings for taxpayers. What he has demonstrated is that investment in early childhood education, or ECE, not only creates better educated young people, but has a spin-off effect in people having better coping skills, mastery of language, better family dynamics, reducing antisocial behavior among young people on reaching adulthood, and a host of other benefits for society.
For years we've been doing this in our country, where we have not thought about early childhood education enough. We've tried to deal with primary education, but most times it is too far gone. That our children, because the literature says, and all the people who sit in here know, you've heard it, I think a lot of people heard it in the last 2.5 years, that the first 3.5 years of life are the most critical stages of development for children. And therefore, even it had to take an economist too, but I suppose it had to take an economist because the finance people, they're just not listening to these issues. They're thinking about the dollar and cents. But I think it will have to take an economist to actually get them to understand that we need to focus on early childhood education. And so I'm very pleased to be here. I must say, we have in this country about 90% of those in early childhood education are private operators. And that means that the government can never really provide for all the children in our early childhood sector. And every day you hear of different crises and different challenges we have in terms of providing children with early childhood education. One of those programs that is run in this country, the Roving Caregivers Program, it has suffered tremendously because of the lack of finance. And it tells you that it is not the will we don't have to continue these programs, but generally what is needed for early childhood education is the financing, because that is what is needed. And we have so many of our citizens who are unable to provide their children with early childhood sensitization. And therefore, we are very excited about what you're doing here, because, as you said, well, as a past teacher, trained teacher, I know that play is very important in the first few years of life. It is not, when people think of play, they always think about playing as something that is trivial, but play is a very integral part of learning. That's how you learn a lot through games. And in those early years, we recognize that if the students do not have the material that will get them to do what we expect them to do, we shouldn't expect them to be at the stage when they're in the primary school that they're just not ready for primary education.
Stay with us. When we come back, a closer look at the social standing of households that care for children with disabilities.